have a cymbal feature every year that's pretty intense rhythmically. There's a lot of skill sets being asked of performers in those moments, and that's something that you don't really see. Like cymbal features are kind of on the down. People don't really do them anymore.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another podcast episode of the Flip Up Podcast. We're back again with our White Claw boxes propped with our mics on top. And today we got a special guest, Ben Linser, who marched groups, Oregon Crusaders, Cap City, and
Yeah, and before we get started, just want to remind you guys, if you are following us, if you're watching these episodes, please make sure to like them, comment on the YouTube videos, follow us on Spotify, because that stuff goes a long way, especially for small channels like us. So without further ado, here's Ben.
Hi guys, I'm Ben. I'm from Minnesota. I grew up in a small suburb of the Twin Cities called New Brighton. I went to Irondale High School where I did marching band there for 4 years on saxophone. And sorry, do you guys play saxophone? Do you guys like cymbal players like all the time in like marching band?
Oh, hell no. I don't think any of us start off on cymbals.
What do you guys play? Because I'm trying to I'm taking a survey, non-scientific survey of what people play, because I feel like everybody played saxophone.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that's
like
that.
Yeah, like 80% of the cymbal players I know played saxophone, I swear.
I feel like I know a lot of, definitely woodwind people. I feel like there's a lot of like clarinets.
Yeah, it's the quiet clarinets. Those are the ones who play cymbals for me. But I did trumpet, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I did trumpet and then I switched to baritone.
Okay. All right. Good to know. I'm keeping a mental note of everybody that I know that plays cymbals. Yeah. So I played saxophone for high school marching band. And then in the winter, I played cymbals starting my freshman year of high school. And then I moved on after high school and I marched the River City Rhythm Drum and Bugle Corps for their inaugural season in 2015. And then I stayed there in 2016. And then 2017 and 18, I marched Oregon Crusaders on the cymbal line where I aged out for the summer. For winter, I marched River City Rhythm Indoor in open class my first year after high school. So that would have been 2016. And then 17 and 18, I was at Minnesota Brass Indoor. And then in 2019, I aged out at Cap City in Ohio.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that is quite the resume. I mean, we say it all the time. I even say it the exact same way I do say it right now. That is quite the resume. Honestly, I think that might be our quote, Lucas.
That's quite the resume. It's because everyone comes on and then we're like, yeah, we marched like GMU and then we did DCI. But we kind of just like picked our groups and stayed there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved around a couple times. And I think it was good. It's good for your development when you move around. Not to say that there's anything wrong with staying at your home group for forever, but having new experiences with the new people, new places, I think is a good thing.
Hell yeah. Yeah, definitely. And for you guys listening, we will be talking about that move around process. Am I even saying that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
I get your idea.
We're gonna be talking about like moving around, like we'll say for like different areas for groups later in the podcast. So look forward to that. But the first thing I do want to talk about, however, especially because Ben marched Cap City, and me and Lucas talk about this. Like I'm not gonna say all the time, but this is something like I feel like, and especially if you've been in the cymbal game for a while, you definitely know what we'll be talking about, and if you're new, you'll start to realize these things. But every group has their like unique style of cymbal play. Like some groups, they move very staccato. Like I can't speak on West Coast behalf, but like if we're talking about West Coast and East Coast, one's focused more on visuals, one's more focused on the musicality. We talked about it in a previous episode. But so if we're talking about GMU, I think our big thing at GMU is flexibility, because a lot of the things we do, like we do a lot of Sones flips, which is like right this way, right out, left in. But we do a lot of wrist breaking for our visuals, and we also do a lot two-handed. And then we also like incorporate like dance moves and like our entire bodies into visuals. But the thing that at least what we noticed from Cap City is you guys do a really good job on making visuals fit really well in terms of like flow emotions. Like I feel like um for us at George Mason, oh god, do you hear me clipping? Why do we always
I
have
don't
this
hear it.
problem?
I don't
Okay.
hear it.
Okay. Let's hope it's not clipping. But at George Mason, I feel like for us it's been very like we're good at making visuals look really well in relation to the whole body. And you guys on like Cap City's end, you guys do a really awesome job on like making visuals look really well in terms of like a flow emotion. I feel like that's something that like we definitely could get better on, me and Lucas, because I feel like we definitely think of our visuals very like hand separate or like both symbols on the same hand. So I'm kind of curious, like, where do you guys get that inspiration for like that artistic style, and like how has that culture sort of developed at Cap City?
So I think there's one guy, kind of the man behind the madness, Cooper Mannon, who was our symbol tech. He's taught at a bunch of places, been around for a long time. He, the way that he like approaches creating visuals is very unique. We would spend just blocks, entire weekends, especially the winter that I marched. It was a very weird winter where we had to like go back to the drawing board with our show. So we just had entire weekends where we just had subs the entire time. So we would sit there and we would just like think really critically about the visuals that we were making, and we would mess around and just like do anything, just do whatever came to our mind at that moment, and then we would refine it and we would say, I like that part, but I didn't like that part. What can we do out of here? Can you change it? Can you change this motion to be a little more tight with inside your body? We didn't really do anything like out away from us or away from our like toaster, like color guard thing, the toaster. We would like stay within our toaster for the most part. We wouldn't really go out. So it was a lot of it was like, how can we make that more tight, compact, and like compressed within our arms and hands and stuff. So that's how you get a lot of the motions where we have our symbols are, we're like grabbing the other symbol, like so your right hand is grabbing your left symbol, and a lot of stuff like that. It's just like a ton of time thinking about what we're doing, how we're doing it, really minor details to make it as smooth as it can possibly be and be comfortable for the performers.
Yeah, I do notice that, especially what you're talking about with like the right to left. Like I do notice that whole compressed style. Like, I guess if we're talking about us again, like Lucas, you and I both know we do not think in the toaster mindset, man.
We're going all over the place.
Yeah. But no, I really love that analogy though of like the toaster. I don't know why I've never heard of it before. Like,
You've never heard the toaster?
no.
So
Oh,
the
man.
toaster is like in color guard when you're like doing like tosses or whatever, and like drop spins and stuff. If you're standing in a toaster, if you go too far forward or too far back, you're gonna get zapped, right? So you want to keep everything in this like space right in front of you, or yeah, and like keep it parallel to your body. Like even and when you're doing a toss, you keep it parallel to your body and you throw the thing up, and yeah,
Classic band right there. That's like
yeah.
band 101, the toaster.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, my whole life's been a toaster now. Thinking about it. So,
Because we've
but
always been outside the toaster. Think outside the toaster, man.
yeah. But honestly, though, like I really like that. The analogy for one, but like thinking about things very compressed. I feel like for me, I definitely think very outside of the box. Like I don't know about you, Lucas. Not like okay, like you know what I'm saying though. Like I'm saying like far away from the body. That's what I meant by like outside the box. But um, like I always think about like when I'm doing my visuals of like, can this sort of like move around in this motion, and can I also move it like away from the body? I don't know. That's like kind of the way I sometimes think of it. But not to say I don't think of visuals being like close by, but I guess that's sort of where I get my creative inspiration. Is I like to think about, well, can I move this visual from like, let's say this is like 100 plane, and then you're taking it all the way to like the -100 plane, something like that. So
Yeah, I think we did a lot of things that because so I think one of the things that West Coast, or maybe not West Coast, but some groups do things that are just like flashy. You just like do a bucket dip. There's a lot of light going around. It's flashy. It's really effective from the floor. Up in the box. If people can just like tell, oh, the symbols are doing something. And we didn't really do a lot of stuff that was like that. We did a lot of stuff that was very intricate and stuff that like other symbol players would understand, and not stuff for like GE points from the box. Um, so that's kind of another motivation of why we did things so intricate, because we wanted people to look at us in the lot. Our show, we had a like kind of mindset where our show for the symbol line was in the lot, right? When we go on the floor, we're gonna do what we can do and hit our dots and perform and all that jazz, and we're gonna contribute as much as we can to the performance. But the people aren't really gonna like look at the symbol line most of the time. It's just kind of how it is. Um, so our show for us, where we win our gold medals, is in the lot. Where we have our friends and family 5 feet away from us, and other symbol players looking at us, and those are the people that we do it for, so they can catch those unique little like intricacies in every little motion that we were doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case for a lot of symbol lines, just having like your main goal being the lot, because that's where you can really shine. Because I mean, that's where you get your videos that are going to be uploaded, where all the other symbol players are going to watch those for the next like 5 years. So it's like for symbol players, they really focus more on the lot so that they can get that up close kind of personal look at the visuals that you're doing. Whereas in the show, it's kind of like, okay, there's all these other things I'm looking at. But that's interesting, thinking about how it's more about the lot as the end game rather than the actual show that the entire group is performing.
Yeah, and I've gone like to both extremes. When I was doing drum corps, our lots, we didn't do a lot. So we would show up, we would massage, and we would stretch, and then we would just like chill for like all, because DC, you guys know DCI warm-ups are like way too long, right? Especially for like cymbal players, they're just like excessively long. So we would eat with some like on really hot days. Our tech would just tell us to stay on the bus in the air conditioning for like an extra 20 minutes, and we would just like chill, and then we'd go massage, stretch, and then we would like show up to battery ensemble. um, and then our focus was on being clean for the show, for going, the judges, and like being on the field and for the crowds in the stands. But in indoor, then we would do like kind of the exact opposite, where the lot was the show, and we didn't really care as much about what happens when you go on the floor.
Yeah, and I feel like this will start to segue into our next conversation, but I feel like that's also why a lot of people love marching at like finalist groups, because there's more people there for the lot, and people like, it's at the highest of what it can be. But I also hate that analogy, because I also feel like people think that all the good symbol lines are the symbol lines that are like marching finals, or the ones that are winning it. But honestly, there are some really good lines, and especially in DCI, there's a lot of DCI lines that do not make finals that honestly are represent like, oh god, like, oh my god, I don't know why I'm losing my thoughts today, guys. But like they're just as good as yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. It's like they're just as good, as any
Sometimes
finals.
even better than like, I mean, BD doesn't have a symbol line, but if they did, I mean, who's to say that it would be the best? Because oftentimes it's the tech who's there. Because you could have like a really crappy line, or I mean, I guess we have to say that all groups are amazing, but you could have like a line that doesn't place as well, but have a really awesome tech there that's just making like a kick-ass symbol line. So if you're
Exactly.
not winning, if you're not getting like these huge people showing up to your lots, you could still have just like an amazing line, because it's just like you're so separated from the rest of the core. What you do is so different that you could just like be amazing. It doesn't matter if the core sucks.
Yeah, I think kind of the prime example of this that's super obvious to me, at least, is Jersey Surf. Like their core, just they know what they are, right? As a core, they're having a good time doing drum corps with their friends in the summer. There's like literally nothing wrong with that at all. And but as a result, they don't do as well competitively as a core. But their line is so good every year. Like, I mean, rest in peace, Jersey Surf. I miss them a lot, but like their lines every year were so good, and I don't think people gave them the chance just because the core was competitively unsuccessful.
Yeah, no, exactly. And honestly, I could say the same thing of any group, who doesn't make finals. Like I guess I can use like the Colts example, since I was there. Like, the core was good, like all the members, but like especially the symbol line, like we really try to go beyond like the expectations of the core. We always try to push beyond that boundaries, and regardless of if people want to push themselves that next level, like we always hold ourselves to the standards. Like we're in that first place ensemble, right? First place ensemble. So that's just kind
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
of like you can go ahead. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so when I was marching OC, we would do sectionals after every single show. We would perform our show, and then we would get out of uniform, eat dinner, and then we would grab our symbols and we would go practice after every show for anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, depending on how much time we had. And every night at every show that we were at Jersey Surf, or that Jersey Surf was also at the same show as us. Every night we would see them doing the same thing, having sectionals, grinding every night, and it definitely shows. It reflects your hard work, pays off for sure.
100%. Yeah.
So something that I wanted to talk about was like we mentioned it before, bringing it up again, but I think when people conflate being in a successful group with being good at something, or sometimes just like that only all of the good people are in the most successful groups. And I think there are tons of people out there that are really, really good that maybe don't necessarily think that they're that good because their group is unsuccessful competitively. Not I'm only talking about this whole discussion in terms of competition when I talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that are insane that just aren't in competitively successful groups. And I think all of those people deserve to have, just as much media time as everybody else. And then I think it comes from the other direction too, where you have people that are really good and are in really successful groups that don't necessarily give those people the same kind of chance or like light of day to be seen. It's not like anybody's being blatantly toxic or anything, but I do think there's a little bit of like a community thing out there that we could all just like support each other more and be a little bit more, I guess, just supportive of each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we talk about, or that we're trying to do with this podcast, especially like the big thing is bridging East and West Coast. But there's also like East Coast versus East Coast things going on sometimes where there's like some people may like try and think that they're better than another group, or another group is like, some of that stuff may happen, but we kind of just have to realize that we're all doing the same freaking stupid little instrument. We're all just like having fun doing band. So like we have this very small opportunity to play this instrument and to do it like in a community. So we might as well just all get along while doing it. And also going off of the whole thing where better groups may not have the best lines. There's also the whole aspect of, especially in DCI, groups just not even having lines. So the opportunity is even smaller just because half the groups out there, I mean, like 90% of the groups out there don't even have lines. So there's just not really that chance.
Yeah, and that's why you find really good symbol lines everywhere in DCI. Like it's very hard to see a not good DCI line, especially because there's just hardly any lines. Like, I mean, for the 2019 season, I could probably, there was like a classroom amount, like your high school classroom. There was that many symbol players in the activity out of like the thousands of them that are out there. Like, I think there was exactly 26 symbol players in the whole DCI activity in 2019, which is just crazy, So no duh, some of these groups that don't, necessarily place well, you have really good symbol players, and then kind of something we were talking about earlier, like feeling that kind of justification, like you're not a good symbol player because of the ways the core is being reflected. And this was something me and Ben kind of talked about before this episode, is there's also a lot of politics that comes with this activity. Like you tend to find it through like social media influences, or just because they had a history of this happening, or like there's like traditions that people are just so accustomed to now that like we can use Phantom for example. Like Phantom's been going downhill. That's not to say they're not good. I'm just saying statistically they've been slowly going down throughout the years, but traditionally they've always been up there. And you hear from the community, everyone's like, yo, what is going on? They should be up there. Why are they dropping? And you can say the same thing about scouts. It's like, yo, what happened to scouts? Like, why are they going down? And then they do a show in 18 that goes so against the tradition of the scouts. And everyone's like, yeah, they deserve to be there. That's not to say we also, didn't have a good year as a core, but, like a lot of people were against us that year. And, it shouldn't ever reflect the core. And I feel like politics definitely has some factor.
Yeah, I think that symbol line is pretty much erased from history just because no one wants to think about that show.
And some like really incredible performers on that line. Like some of the best people, I think probably are arguably top 5 cymbal players ever. 2 of them are on that line. And they just like the core just like got shit on by the community, and like nobody talks about it anymore. It's so sad.
Yeah, it definitely it's kind of shitty the way symbols are kind of being treated in this activity. But honestly, especially with what me and Lucas have kind of noticed, and like the goals we've been pushing from the beginning, like I definitely can see symbol lines coming back in the next 10 years. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's something that's just going to happen immediately. Hell, I don't think there's going to be a lot against it. Like there's people that are going to hate the idea. Like people are just happy that lines are going away, like the older people. Then you have the younger people that are like, yo, this instrument has gotten so much cooler than the basic like wave in the arms, I guess you could say. But like even that stuff is still cool if it's done right, But people just think it's just a waste of space. Like, yeah, we want tubas, But if you can think of it this way, cymbals are like a mixture of guard and percussion. You get the best of both worlds. Why have one or the other when you can just have both together? So just doesn't make sense sometimes. But I also think there's a lot of ignorance in learning the instrument also, which that's something that definitely has gotten way better. Like me and Lucas talked about this a long time ago, but like we have amazing staff at George Mason who want to understand the instrument and, the culture developed around it, and they actually know how to utilize us, and they give us a lot of trust in what we do. So it's just awesome to see that development, especially that has grown for me and Lucas at George Mason.
Yeah, the growth. I mean, I've been in the game for a decade now. This fall would be the 10-year anniversary of me starting marching band. And
Jeez.
yeah, I've been in the game for a long time. And just like in the last 10 years, the growth has been insane. I mean, social media growth, like it didn't exist 10 years ago. Like to find videos on YouTube, you had to like dig through the archives and you could find like one video of like Spirit of Atlanta from like a couple years prior. And that's it. And if you're trying to learn and trying to get better, there were zero resources. The only resources that existed when I was trying to learn in high school was Eddie Capps, his cymbal tutorial series from like 20 years ago, made in like the early 2000s. That was it. But now there's like so much stuff out there, and it's really great. It's really awesome. I think a lot of people that are just starting out or getting into it that are enjoying the instrument, now is a great time to be in it. And there's not a lot of opportunities, but like everybody, just like mathematically, there's not that many spots out there for DCI, but for WGI and stuff, it's like if anything, it's exploding. It's growing in popularity. And I think it's a great time to ride that wave and enjoy it.
I'm just going to make this easy for myself, especially making the intro for this. But honestly, like this is the harsh reality of cymbal playing right here. Like everything we're talking about, like this is the reality of kind of what goes on, behind the scenes. Like people see like, oh yeah, the cymbal lines, but like there's just so much in terms of like politics that, a lot of people don't see. So I really do appreciate that we're kind of raising awareness about this right now. And honestly, I think it'd be really cool to talk about this like with a bunch of cymbal players, because what Ben is saying right now and what me and Lucas are saying, I guarantee you almost every cymbal player will talk about this sort of politic aspect that kind of goes around with cymbal playing. So, yeah. So,
Watch out for that episode, the mega episode.
It'd be cool having like a round table, get people from like all over. I'd be
Yeah,
down.
everyone's just going off. Just be like, man, this happened, this happened.
yeah.
It's a lot to be said.
Cool. So there's actually one last thing that I do want to talk about, and same thing. Me and Ben talked about this before, but this is something that me and Lucas also kind of religiously live by. Also, is the accessibility, and this is something we kind of talked about earlier. But the accessibility of like having groups around you. Now, for me and Lucas, like we were fortunate enough to have George Mason around, which at the time George Mason was this group that was like developing over the years. And I'd say the years that we did March there were the years where Mason's gotten to be where it is now, you know, but like in terms of high school, like there wasn't much around other than George Mason. Maybe United Percussion would come and like do a few competitions in our area, but really it was George Mason at the time. And even from like a high school standpoint, like I started off in A class, and like my high school now is like at a world-class level, world-class finalist scholastic level. And it's just like, it's crazy how like, you know, that's where Virginia is at now. But like, I guess Ben, this is your moment to kind of tell your story on like, what you did have in your area.
Yeah, so Minnesota is we have a lot of high schools that are really big into high school marching band, and we have some like really good high schools that are participate in indoor drumline. We actually have more. I think we have more high schools that participate in indoor drumline than we do for high school marching band, which is kind of interesting. But if you think about in Ohio, right, there's like 8 independent world groups for WGI that are all within either the state of Ohio or a bordering state. So when you have regionals there or you have any show, there's like it's a star-studded lineup of like great world-class groups. Same thing in California, in the South, and in the upper Midwest up here in Minnesota. There's not a lot of like foundation of culture of these like really hyper successful ensembles, and so it leads to a unique development where we don't have anybody looking at us that's like a figurehead of the community. So we've like kind of paved our own way, and I think that it has led to a very unique style of development where we have East Coast and we have West Coast, and one East Coast, as we all know, very visual focused, and we have West Coast, very musical focused. And the Midwest that I've been a part of has like kind of merged the two, where we focus a lot on sound quality, and the visual package is there, and it's something that we're very, we pursue heavily, because we still do like flip with an East Coast style. We do offhand, we have done a little bit of juggling in the past. We've experimented with all these things, but it's led to a very interesting like kind of merging of playing with really good sounds and spending a lot of time. When I was marching Minnesota Brass on Friday nights, we would do subs for 4 hours ish every Friday night to start off the weekend, and we would spend that whole time just working on sounds or a little bit of visual stuff. But especially early season, it was just all like playing well, playing in time. We have, especially at Minnesota Brass, but then also at River City Rhythm, they also do this. They have a cymbal feature every year that's pretty intense rhythmically. There's a lot of skill sets being asked of performers in those moments, and that's something that you don't really see. Like cymbal features are kind of on the down. People don't really do them anymore. Musically, for sure. Like you might have like a visual feature, but musically they're definitely not as common as they used to be. If you go look at like, North Coast before they folded, it was like every year this like insane feature, and a lot of groups did that, but that's been going down. But then we also have like this, we spend a lot of time, doing East Coast visuals, and it's a unique situation that's just like this, we're on this island where we don't have anybody else around us. And it's led to a unique situation now.
Cool. Well, with that, we are actually just hitting time. Feels like we could go on talking for hours, but this is the end of the episode. So, as always, we have to ask Ben for the final question. If there's anything you want to say to the CYMBAL players out there, what would it be?
I don't care where you come from, who you are, what your background is. Anybody can be incredible at this activity, including you. So go chase your dreams because you can achieve them for sure.
Damn.
And that was a really good one. Like I felt like I was just watching a Marvel movie. That was like a really good quote right
I feel
there.
like I got to pick up right now.
Yeah, definitely. Once again, thank you guys for tuning back for another episode. We'll be back next week. As always, take care, guys.